Now that I made a, terrible mistake, being inside a club and, went live, I put myself in, a bad position. And also it's, my daughter. There's times where she even tell me if she's, had a bad day. And I felt like, if she can tell me that, then, I can be able to go and talk to somebody as well.
It's been about a month, I think, of a bunch of bad news, negative news, PR-wise, at least for Ja Morant there. And all these stories filtering out of things he's done in the past and pretty recent past as well, culminating to that moment on Instagram Live when he flashed that pistol there in the middle of a club. So he was talking to Jalen Rose about the whole thing, and he took the chance to explain himself. Let's watch more of what he had to say.
You at the spot, Shotgun Willie's. I've been there. You were holding a gun. And we both know how dangerous that can be. Whose gun were you holding?
Well, the gun wasn't mine. It's not who I am. I don't condone any type of violence, but I take full responsibility for my actions. Made a bad mistake, and I can see the image that I painted over myself with my recent mistakes, but in the future, I'm gonna show everybody who Ja really is, what I'm about.
What has the last 10 or 11 days been like for you, and how are you doing?
Me personally, I feel mentally good that I haven't been in many years. I'm in a space where I'm very comfortable. I was constantly talking to therapists. I've been doing, Reiki treatment. I've been doing anxiety breathing, different stuff to, help me manage that and, release, all that stuff from my body.
But when did you say?
He was sitting down for this interview with him and went through all of the issues he's going through, even some of the things he's doing to remedy these things. Now, of course, I'm sure there's a bunch of people that were responding to it. In fact, I did see it, responding to it by going, oh, now we're gonna talk about mental health issues and how you need to do this and that fourth exercise to calm yourself and release some of the stresses as well. We're gonna skip the third shot here, you guys, and go because the response then to that, as this is happening, because of course, a multi-million-dollar pro athlete never really gets those kinds of concessions from folks, especially once they find themselves in a bit of a PR disaster here. So in this fourth shot here, what I think many people don't remember though is back in 2021, he then sat down with Taylor Rooks and he did talk about that before any of this went down. Watch this.
I don't tell nobody, none of that stuff. Like anytime somebody asks me like, are you okay? I always say, I'm good, even if I'm not. Like, I'm just kind of used to, getting through stuff on my own. I always say, like one of my favorite quotes was, you don't realize you're drowning when you're trying to be everyone else's anchor. So, like, through the bubble, like, I was, just thinking about that quote. Like, sometimes you gotta, put yourself first, like your health, no matter what it is. Like, I'm always making sure everybody else straight, but sometimes I gotta, worry about me. And normally that's the times, when I, be in a dark place, when I'm trying to make sure everybody else good and knowing I'm not good, and just be even more, harder,
So Sharon, Ja's been sitting out for the past several games, and more punishment came down from the NBA over the whole thing. But then some people are even asking the question. I heard it just this afternoon when I was driving in. Some folks are saying, why even do this interview with Jalen Rose? You coming back off, you're gonna be off the suspension in another few games. Just put your head down, play some basketball, and rehab your image that way. This may not have done the trick, but it's kind of standard, I think.
Kind of standard, and he did it because he can, and I don't think he should put his head down and play basketball. I watch a lot of court shows, JR, and one thing that is a recurring theme is you're not allowed to testify or speak about somebody's state of mind. And the reason is because you're not in someone else's mind and you don't know. So I'm gonna take it at face value when he says that he struggled and he needs more therapy here. Therapy's a good thing, and he should do it. And I think you can lose yourself in your public persona, particularly when you've had people screaming your name and you've been this famous and rich for as long as you have been. You can lose yourself. I'm not sure he says this isn't who I am. I'm not sure right now he knows who he is, and that's okay too. Let him have some therapy, give him some time. It's not about an excuse. It's not about an excuse. But I believe that we don't need to necessarily comment on this young man's state of mind. Clearly something's up.
And well, he's 23 years old, and that's been the discussion sometimes is, well, what kind of things were you doing if you just, I think they said it's a $200 million contract, which, by the way, it always bugs me when I hear people talk about someone else's bank account that they're not involved in, and then basing it off of your judgment of their decisions later. Because I mean, if it's Joe Schmo in Alabama holding up a gun in the Instagram live, is the same level of energy around it. Now I get it, because they're saying is a role model. What are kids gonna be doing and thinking? What are kids doing and thinking when we see their schools get shot up, and then the people who can maybe do something about it then go, we don't care. As a matter of fact, get more guns. Do you think kids aren't hearing that stuff? Do you think maybe 16-year-olds aren't hearing that stuff and seeing how the level of response comes? We're seeing this week, there was that demonstration of some teacher pulling out this makeshift a bunker door in the middle of a classroom as a potential solution to these types of things. So the only reason I'm going on this tangent is to talk about our gun culture and how it manifests itself as disastrous in certain ways. I also agree that he probably should have been flashing pistols on his Instagram live. But I also don't want to take it to the point of being like, oh my God, his career's over. He can't do anything about this. How dare he? What was he gonna do with that gun? Because you know what the assumptions are, Sharon? There's a young black kid hanging out with other black folks who aren't famous and rich, and therefore they're dragging him down and they got him in this street wars. None of that was said. Yes, he was posing. He even mentioned that in that interview as well. And we can have the issues with what he did, but for what reason is when you should ask yourself before you get to criticizing.
Yeah, it's that part. It's like when people are on these shows doing commentary, kind of like I'm doing right now with you, and they say at the end of it, it's just un-American. And I'm thinking, it's exactly American. What are you talking about? This is exactly who we are. Let's go about changing that. But don't judge him more harsh than you would somebody else.
If nothing else, he's one of them that been is one of the impressionable youths, as they like to say, that has been influenced by the way we talk about our guns in whichever aspects of society. You can say, well, black culture does it in hip hop and rap videos, and other parts of our culture do it in many other different ways. You think they don't see pictures of someone hunting and some young kid in Texas doesn't go, that's cool. Can't wait to get my hands on my rifle. Same thing. Just keep it real. By the way, he was suspended by the NBA for 8 games. He sat out, I think, 5 or 6 already, and he's losing $668,000 in his salary for those 8 games. Damn. Just want to point that part out again. I wish him the best.